Hello, friends, and welcome back. So, today's topic for discussion is incident management, where we will discuss all the steps and activity involved at each step of incident management. One of the primary goals of any security program is to prevent security incidents. However, despite the best efforts, incidents occur. And when they do, an organization must be able to respond to limit or contain the incident. The primary goal of incident management is to minimize the impact on the organization. Before digging into incident management, it's important to understand the definition of an incident. Although that may seem simple, you will find that different sources have slightly different definitions. In general, an incident is any event that has a negative effect on the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of an organization's assets. This definition includes various events like direct attacks, natural disasters such as hurricanes or earthquakes, and accidents like someone mistakenly cutting cables in a live network, right? A computer security incident is a violation or imminent threat of violation of computer security policies, acceptable use policies, or standard security practices. And in the context of incident management, we are referring to a computer security incident. Okay. Some of the common events that the organization classifies as security incidents are like any attempted network intrusion or any attempted denial of service attack, any detection of malicious software, unauthorized access of data, or any violation of security policies, right? And organizations handle some incidents like weather events or natural disasters using other methods like business continuity plan or disaster recovery plan, which is altogether a separate topic which we will discuss in some other video. Effective incident management is handled in different steps or phases, and there are several steps in incident management process. Different organizations have different steps, but the intent is same. No matter how organization lists the steps, it contains almost same elements and has the same goal of effectively managing incident. It's important to note that the incident management does not include a counter attack against the attacker. Launching attacks on others is counterproductive and often illegal. So let's discuss the different steps involved in incident management. The first step in incident management is detection. There are multiple methods of detecting potential incidents. Some of the most common methods to detect potential incident include intrusion detection and prevention systems, which send alerts to administrators when they detect a potential incident. We have already discussed about intrusion prevention and detection systems and how they work in our earlier video. If you want better understanding, you can refer to that video. Another method of detection is anti-malware software or antivirus software, which often displays a pop-up window to indicate when it detects any malware or virus, right? And there are many automated tools which regularly scan audit logs looking for predefined events, such as the use of special privileges. And when they detect specific events, they typically send an alert to administrators. End users sometimes detect irregular activity and contact technician or help desk support for help. And when user report events such as the inability to access a network resource or update a system, it alerts the technician about the potential incident. If IT team receives an alert from an automated tool or a user complaint, this doesn't always mean an incident has occurred. like intrusion detection and prevention system often give false alarms. So to make it clear, IT teams investigate these events to determine whether they are incidents. Incident handling teams should be trained to determine the difference between a typical problem that needs troubleshooting and a security incident that needs to be escalated. After investigating an event and determining it as a security incident, we move on to the next step, which is response. In many cases, the person doing the initial investigation will escalate the incident to bring in other professionals to respond. The response differs depending on the severity of the incident. Many organizations have a designated incident response team, sometimes also called as computer incident response team or computer security incident response team. Organizations activate this team during a major security incident but does not typically activate the team for minor incidents. A formal incident response plan documents who would activate the team and under what conditions. Team members are trained on incident response and the organization's incident response plan. The more quickly an organization can respond to an incident, the better chance they have at limiting the damage. If an incident continues for hours or days, the damage is likely to be greater. For example, an attacker may be trying to access a customer database. A quick response can prevent the attacker from obtaining any meaningful data. However, if given continued unobstructed access to the database for several hours or days, the attacker may be able to get a copy of the entire database. Right? It's important to protect all data as evidence during the investigation, which can be used in legal procedures if required at all. Computers should not be turned off when containing an incident. Temporary files and data in volatile RAM will be lost if the computer is powered down, right? Forensics experts have tools they can use to retrieve data in temporary files and volatile RAM as long as system is kept powered on. Next step is mitigation. Mitigation steps attempt to contain an incident. One of the primary goals of effective incident management is to limit the effect or scope of an incident. For example, if an infected computer is sending data out, a technician can disable the network adapter or disconnect the cable to the computer. Sometimes containment involves disconnecting a network from other computers to contain the problem within a single network. Because when the problem is isolated, security teams can address it without worrying about it spreading to the rest of the network, right? In some cases, responders take steps to mitigate the incident, but without letting the attacker know that the attack has been detected. And this allows security team to monitor the attacker's activities and determine the scope of the attack. Next step is reporting. This step refers to reporting an incident within the organization and to organizations and individuals outside the organization, right? Although there is no need to report minor incident to the company's CEO or upper level management, but they need to know about serious security breaches. Organizations often have a legal requirement to report some incidents outside of the organization. Most countries have enacted regulatory compliance laws to govern security breaches, particularly as they apply to sensitive data retained within information systems. These laws typically include a requirement to report the incident, especially if the security breach exposed customer data, right? Many jurisdictions have specific laws governing the protection of personally identifiable information. If a data breach exposes PII, the organization must report it. Different laws have different reporting requirements. but most include a requirement to notify individuals affected by the incident. In other words, if an attack on a system resulted in an attacker gaining PII about you, the owner of the system have a responsibility to inform you of the attack and what data the attackers accessed. Like, I was recently notified by Angel One when they reported a data leak. I got an email from them. Organizations sometimes choose not to involve law enforcement to avoid negative publicity or an investigation. However, this is not an option if personal information is exposed. Many incidents are not reported because they are not recognized as incidents. This is often the result of inadequate training, and the obvious solution is to ensure that staff have relevant training. Training should teach individuals how to recognize incidents, what to do in the initial response, and how to report an incident. The next step is recovery. The next step is to recover the system or return it to a fully functioning state. This step can be very simple for minor incident which may only require a reboot. However, a major incident may require completely rebuilding the system, which may include restoring all data from the most recent backup. When a compromised system is built from scratch, it's important to ensure it is configured properly and at least as secure as it was before the incident. If an organization has effective configuration management and change management standards, they provide the necessary documentation to ensure the rebuilt systems are configured properly. I have discussed more in details about change management in my earlier video, which you can go and watch for better understanding. There are few things you need to double check while configuring systems back to normal state. Access control list, which includes firewall and router rules. Service and protocols, ensure that unneeded services and protocols are disabled or removed. Patches, ensure that all up-to-date patches are installed. User accounts, ensure that they have changed from the default configurations. Sometimes we don't change default configuration and keep it as it was. And ensure that any known compromises have been reversed. In some cases, an attacker may have installed malicious code on a system during an attack. This attack may not be apparent without a detailed inspection of the system, and the most secure method of restoring a system after an incident is completely rebuilding it from scratch, right? In the remediation stage, team look at the incident, identify what allowed it to occur, and then implement methods to prevent it from happening again. This step includes performing a root cause analysis. A root cause analysis examines the incident to determine what allowed it to happen. For example, if attackers successfully accessed a database through a website, team would examine all the system elements to determine what allowed the attackers to succeed. If the root cause analysis identifies a vulnerability that can be mitigated, it will be done. It could be possible that the web server didn't have up-to-date patches, allowing the attackers to gain remote control of the server. And remediation steps might include implementing a patch management program, right? During the lessons learned stage, team examine the incident and the response to see if there are any lessons to be learned. While examining the response to the incident, team look for any areas where they can improve their response. For example, if the response team took a long time to contain the incident, team tries to determine why it took time. It might be that personnel don't have adequate training and didn't have the knowledge and expertise to respond effectively, right? They may not have recognized the incident when they received the first notification, allowing an attack to continue longer than necessary. Incident management team documents all the lessons learned. Based on the findings, the team may recommend changes to the procedures, like the addition of security controls or even changes to the policies. In some organizations, users play a key role in the initial response to security incidents. For example, a simple incident response checklist can be provided to users or placed near workstation, guiding users on what to do if they suspect any unusual behavior like system slowdowns, unexpected pop-ups, or unauthorized access, so that users can take immediate action, which may include disconnecting from network to prevent further spread, avoid opening unknown files or emails that may worsen the attack, reporting the issue to IT or help desk for further investigation. Although this approach isn't suitable for all organizations, but in environments where users have some technical knowledge, it can significantly improve response time and minimize damage. And by involving users in the early stages of incident management, organizations create an extra layer of defense against cyber threats. So guys, this is all we have for today. I hope you found this video insightful and learned something new. If you like the video, please comment below and share and subscribe with your friends. Consider joining me on LinkedIn. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye.